Hello and welcome to IP Study Video Lectures. Today we are going to discuss chapter number 18 of Grade 7 Social Science. The chapter name is Government's Role in Health. Before we discuss about the health aspect of this chapter, we need to understand what role a government plays in a country. For this we will discuss the term resource. Now, resource is anything that we need, anything that is useful. It could be money, material, or anything else that adds value to our life. Like this mobile phone is a resource. It is a resource because we can do so many things with it. If you're a student, you can look out for good videos, you can read ebooks and so on. You can also consume some entertainment content or play games on it. So it is useful for you in many ways. But the question is what exactly you do with it. Of course, if you watch good videos and read ebooks, you are being more productive. So it is very important to manage resources in our life. If we look at it from a macro level, the government also does this job for the entire country. Right? They have so many resources as well. They have land, they have railways, they have roads. What they make of these resources is very important, right? And for our country, this particular job is done by the Niti Aayog. In the year 2015, Niti Aayog was set up by the government, where they started planning about the allocation of the resources. When we got independent, this function was performed by the Planning Commission, but since 2015, Niti Aayog has replaced the Planning Commission. The main difference is that Niti Aayog believes in involving the state governments in the decision-making process. So, both the central and state government sit together and decide on how they have to use the resources for the development of the country and for the welfare of the people. Right? Now, health is one of the most important aspects which is covered by the state governments in our country. It is the state governments which invest money in healthcare, which make sure that all the policies, all the work related to healthcare is sustained. Yes, center also provides aids to the state government, they provide help to the state governments, but mainly it is the state government's responsibility to look after the healthcare. Now the question will come, what exactly is health? In simple ways, we say that health or good health is absence of illness or diseases. But it is not just that. Yes, it is important that we should look strong from outside. We should not fall sick very frequently. But health is a very comprehensive term. It also includes our strength. It also includes the fact that whether we are mentally feeling well or not, whether our emotions are in the right place or not. So, health is a very comprehensive term. If you look at the WHO definition of health, it would include physical, emotional and social well-being of a person. So it's a very comprehensive meaning. And when we look at the classification as well, we see that physical health is only related to the human body. From the outside, we should be looking fit, and from the inside, all our body organs should be functioning well. So heart, lungs, kidney, liver, all of these internal organs have their own functions, and if they are functioning well, then we say the person is healthy. But that is only physical health. For a person to be overall healthy, it is important that emotionally, psychologically and socially that person is also feeling fit in the society. So having good thoughts, to have a good mindset about life, and also to have good relations around you is also part of good health, right? So both physical and mental health are important for a person to be overall healthy. So now we have discussed that health is not just about physical health but also mental health, which is important for the overall development of a person. Just think about it. A healthy person is always useful for the society. In fact, we discuss about resources, that yes, resources are important, the best use of all the resources is important, but who is going to do that? If a person is healthy, that person is automatically more effective. Just think about yourself. You have examinations coming up and you want to study for that. But if you don't feel well, if you feel feverish every day, you will not be able to study properly. So people need to be healthy to perform to their utmost level, and that is why they will become a better resource, better human resource, and they will be able to take care of the other resources that are there, right? So that is why we believe health is very important for human beings to perform their functions. This is why we will study about health infrastructure in India, where we will discuss both about the positive aspects and the negative aspects of it. So, first of all, discussing about the positive aspects, India is a large country and there are more than 25,000 hospitals that are there in the country. So that is definitely a very positive aspect, that we have a large number of hospitals. Then talking about medicines, India is the largest exporter of medicines and the third largest producer of it. So third largest producer means manufacturing of medicines. So that happens on a large scale in our country. It is the third largest in that aspect. And the largest exporter means that most of our medicines, they are good enough to be exported to other countries, and that is a good output for India. Then discussing about some factors. Before that, we need to understand their definition. First is life expectancy. So life expectancy simply means number of years a newborn baby is expected to live. This is based on different conditions, like what kind of healthcare system is present in a country, what kind of environment is there, the pollution levels, the genetics of parents, all these factors. So on the basis of this, how much years a person is going to live is calculated. For developed countries, this number is more than 80, right? But for developing countries like India, it is somewhere around 70. Why this is a positive aspect? Because when we got independent, this number was as low as 32. So most people were expected to live only up till that age. It does not mean that everyone lived only till 32. It is just the average age. So many people used to die before that age, and this was the average that people used to live around. But that number has more than doubled up. Similarly, another important indicator is infant mortality rate. Now this is the number which tells how many babies who are born actually survive, right? So it is calculated per 1,000 babies. At the time of independence, this number was 146 and now it has reduced to 27, right? So you can see, because the healthcare facilities have improved, because the awareness of parents how to take care of their newborn babies has improved, the medicines have improved, so more babies survive. Of course, we want this number to be zero ideally, but yes, this number has actually improved a lot. By improved I means the number has lowered, which is a great evidence that our healthcare system has improved. Another positive or interesting aspect of Indian healthcare system is that it is very diverse. If you look at India, it is a country which not only relies on allopathic type of medicines but also believes in naturopathy, Ayurveda, homeopathy, yoga. So it believes in so many different practices which are used to cure a person. Due to all this, India has been able to eradicate many diseases in the country. Diseases like smallpox, polio have been eradicated from the country. Now let us move to the negative aspects of the Indian healthcare system. These we need to know about so that we can address them properly and try to improve upon them. So first of all, the Indian healthcare system is very overburdened. While the doctor-patient ratio has improved, the doctor-nurse ratio is still quite poor. So there are many international and national agencies which calculate this number. A doctor-patient ratio means how many patients are there under every doctor and how many patients are there under every nurse. So that these numbers are important for a country because you need enough number of doctors and nurses in a country as per the population. So while the doctor-patient ratio has improved, the doctor-nurse ratio is still quite poor. According to the WHO, they want this number to be around 1:300, basically means one nurse every 300 for every 300 patient. But in our country, this number is still around one nurse per 600 patients. So this number needs to improve. We need more nurses in our country for this number to be appropriate. Then another negative problem is the urban-rural divide. Urban means cities and towns. So if you look at big cities and towns, you will find that there are many hospitals, big hospitals, and even smaller clinics from place to place. You don't need to travel a lot to access a good hospital or reach a good healthcare facility. But when you talk about rural areas, then sometimes you have to travel kilometers to find even a decent hospital. So this problem of access is there more in rural areas. So this is something we need to improve upon. Then there are about 3 lakh children every year who are dying from preventable diseases. Preventable diseases means those diseases for which we have a proper cure, for which we have proper medicine, but because of lack of access, because of lack of affordability sometimes or other reasons, these children we are not able to save. So this is a very sad statistics, because we understand that when if a person gets old or for a disease for which there is no cure, then the survival rate is not that much, it is quite low. But for diseases which have a known solution, if we are not able to prevent them, if we are not able to save lives, then that is a sad number. Now, 35% of children in our country are malnourished. What is malnourishment? Malnourishment means that you are not getting enough nutrients, and due to that your body mass is not as it is supposed to be. So nutrition means the food that we eat. Sometimes it could be in terms of quantity as well as quality, right? Quantity means you are not eating enough food, which could be because of affordability, and sometimes it is in terms of quality as well, that you are getting food but that food does not have enough nutrition for your growth and development. So both of these lead to malnourishment, which means that the children are below the mass, below the weight that they are supposed to be. They are weak, and because of that their growth, whether it is physical growth or whether it is their mental growth, it is affected, right? So that is a huge problem. Another negative aspect is the economic inequality. Now we know this very much about our country, that there are number of people who cannot afford a good healthcare, right? It is because they lack the resources, they lack the money to afford these treatments. So economic inequality is a huge problem. Apart from that, the quality of healthcare is also questionable at times. Even if you have good money, there may be lack of doctors around you or lack of good healthcare services, because of which you are not able to get the treatment that you want, right? So these are some negative aspects about the Indian healthcare system. Moving on, we will discuss about the public and private healthcare facilities. So, Public healthcare facilities simply means the facilities which are provided by the government, whether it is the state government or the central government or even the local government. And private healthcare means which is privately funded, which is provided by private individuals. So to understand the public and the private healthcare systems, we need to look at this table which tells us about the difference between the two. So the first of all is facilities. So what is included under public healthcare system? It is the government hospitals, the government dispensaries which are giving free or very low cost medicines. And when we talk about the private system, it is the private hospitals, the private clinics, the blood banks which are run by individuals for profit motive. That is the main difference actually. Public healthcare is for all the people, so it is normally less in cost, but private healthcare is generally more expensive. So the second point is ownership only. So as we discussed, public healthcare system is owned by the government, or it could be the state government or the central government, but the private healthcare system is owned by private individuals. Then the funding. Now the funding for the public healthcare system comes from taxes. These taxes are of course paid by the people to the government, but these taxes are used by the government for the welfare of people only, right? So these are funded by the taxes, whereas if you look at the private hospitals, it is funded by the people themselves, so they are taking money out of their pockets, or maybe they have health insurance, so it is the insurance companies which are paying for the treatment. Then the question comes of affordability. So yes, public healthcare system, because it has the service motive, it is generally more affordable. Sometimes it is free of cost and sometimes it is at a very low cost. Whereas if you look at the private hospitals, they are generally more expensive, and sometimes they are 4-star, 5-star hospitals which are not affordable by a large number of people in the society. So next comes accessibility. So if we talk about the public healthcare system, then it is accessible to all the people. But when we talk about the private healthcare system, it is accessible only to the people who can afford the services of these private hospitals. And the last point comes the waiting lines. So basically, if you are going to a government hospital, you have to stand in long queues because many people want to afford these services. But when you talk about the private hospitals, generally you will get shorter lines. There is less waiting time because not many people are able to afford these services, so they are not coming to these places, right? And as I discussed before, there are even some very large hospitals, 4-star, 5-star hospitals. There you will find even empty beds. It is not because people are healthy all the time, but people are still sick, they are unhealthy, but they cannot afford these private hospitals which are very expensive for them, right? But public healthcare system is mostly overburdened in our country. So now we will discuss about access of facilities. We have already discussed how public and private healthcare system have different problems in terms of access. If you want to access the public healthcare system, then yes, there are long lines where you have to wait a lot to get good treatment. But if you want to access private healthcare system, then the problem is of affordability. So there are problems with both the options that we have. To resolve this, the central government, the state governments, and even the local governments are trying to have some kind of partnership where they can make quality services available to people at affordable prices. Not just the state and the central government, but also other organizations such as the international organizations like World Health Organizations and the NGOs. They are collaborating to make sure that these services are available to all the people. They want to make sure that different health problems, the problems which can be easily prevented, they can be resolved and even eradicated from the society. Now let's move to the next topic: significance of public healthcare facilities in India. As we discussed, India is a country where there are so many poor and underprivileged people who cannot afford the private healthcare facilities. For that, it is important that we provide them affordable and accessible services. Our constitution also recognizes this need. Under Article 21, which is part of fundamental rights, they have provided for right to life. And under this right to life, we have right to health, which ensures that every person has the right to live a healthy life. And for this obligation, we see that the state government, the central government, when they are making their policies, they have to keep this in mind, that they are doing something for the health care of people, right? To ensure that the people in the country live a healthy life. So what policies they adopt? We see that whether it is vaccination, health education, awareness, different health campaigns. So they make sure through all these things they ensure people's good health. A great example of public vaccination program was obviously the COVID-19 vaccination, which made sure that in a short period of time we were able to vaccinate a large number of people. Then immunization is another factor. You have to make sure that basic vaccination for diseases are there in the country. So when you are a child, many injections are there for a child, many vaccines are there for a child, so that preventable diseases are dealt with, right? And also health campaigns are important. Like if you live in North India, then during the time of monsoon, you will find the rise of many diseases related to mosquitoes like malaria, chikungunya. So to protect yourself from all these diseases, the government has a health campaign where they give general advice to people on how they can prevent these diseases and how they can fight against these diseases, right? Even during the COVID-19 pandemic, the government issued many guidelines for people on how they can protect themselves. So all this is part of the healthcare system, and in a country where we see that many people are underprivileged, they cannot afford good healthcare system, this becomes even more important, because we want our human resource, our citizens to remain healthy all the time. Now this particular case study talks about the significance of giving taxes. So it's a case study where a person says that he's earning more than he used to, but now his income has increased to a point where he has to give taxes to the government. And nobody likes giving money to the government, but the other friend explains that your money is going to help you only. The government spends this money on welfare activities which are beneficial for the whole society. So whether it is good roads, whether it is good hospitals, good schools, so the government spends this money in all these aspects. So I hope when the children watching this video, they grow up, they earn enough money in their life, they are also motivated to pay taxes to the government, because that is for the overall good of the society. Alright, moving to the next topic, we are going to discuss about the National Health Mission. National Health Mission was integrated with the National Rural Mission in the year 2013. This mission ensures that various health hazards are prevented in the country, whether it is those about preventing different diseases or immunization, and making sure that the overall quality of the healthcare system is improved. That is the main mission of the National Health Mission. Next, we will discuss about the healthcare reforms. Reforms means changes. We discussed in this chapter about some negative aspects of the Indian healthcare system. So here we will discuss what changes we can bring up to it. With the time, with the population increasing, with the different kind of diseases that we see emerging, we need to make sure that our healthcare system is able to cope up with the diverse needs, right? What do we need to do regarding this? First of all, it is suggested that every year we need to spend more and more money on our healthcare system, so that we can do more and more research as well. Research is important because we need to know why particular problems are rising. Take example of heart attacks. If we know that because of this or that food there is more chances of heart attacks, then the government can advise the people that to avoid eating such kind of foods, right? So also to make medicines, you need research to make better medicines as well. So spending money on healthcare infrastructure, then to spend money on research, these are some of the reforms that we need. Also, we need to invest on the healthcare professionals. Their training is also very important to improve the quality of machines, to improve the quality of equipment that are there in the hospitals. All this will have a good impact on our healthcare system. So these are some reforms which are suggested for a better healthcare system. There are two examples of good reforms that were brought in these two regions of the world. First is the Costa Rica approach. Now, Costa Rica is a country located in Central America. Since 1948, the country decided that it will not keep an active army, right? Because of this, they were able to spend a lot of their resources on the welfare of people. So whether it was providing people with clean drinking water, sanitation facilities, healthcare facilities, so they made sure that they will spend their money on all these basic needs of people. As we know that the expenses of army are really huge, they were able to allocate a large sum of money on the healthcare facilities. And because of this, the people started getting healthier, they got more effective, and the country benefited from the whole process. Similarly, talking about Kerala, which is a state in south of India, it also followed an approach where it spent more money on its education and healthcare systems. Now, Kerala is known for not just allopathic medicine, but also Ayurvedic medicines, naturopathy practices, and so on. So, because of increased funding and also involving the community in resolving many of these problems, the healthcare system got better and better, right? Because of this, the life expectancy of people living in Kerala improved, as well as the infant mortality rate, which decreased from the previous numbers. And because of this effort of the government and the involvement of people, the overall healthcare system in Kerala improved, right? So taking example from Kerala, we want that for the rest of India also, we see better healthcare policies from the government and more awareness among the people on how they can take better care of their needs. And if that happens, we will have a better India, a healthier India, and we can grow as much as we are able to. So I hope you enjoyed this chapter about the healthcare system in India, and we will see you again in the next video lecture. Thank you so much.